So do you really know what is influencing how you feel about your body that's making you feel negative towards yourself? Well, in today's video, I want to check in with that. Okay, I want to check in with whether perhaps when I ask that question, you just shout at your laptop, shout at your phone. It's my body, it's my weight, it's my face, it's my stomach. And maybe a lot of your triggers that you feel influence how you feel about yourself are these physical attributes. But today I want to go deeper than that, and I want to get into the real cause of why you feel negatively towards yourself. So first, thanks for coming to check out this video today. Look, I've just set up this channel and I'm going to be here every Wednesday to talk through everything body image and self-image, because how we feel about ourselves, okay, influences everything. And I'm tired of us females thinking that we need to change ourselves. We need to change our bodies, how we look, in order to get to this end goal of happiness or love or worthiness, or just to feel comfortable day to day. So I want to go into everything that we maybe need to look at that might be going on for you that's stopping you feel good about yourself. So if that sounds good to you, I would love to invite you to subscribe to the channel and come with me every week while we explore all of the different facets of how we feel about ourselves. So I'm Natalie and I'm a body image coach, and my focus is not to get you to look in the mirror and 100% love your body or think you look amazing all the time, because that's unrealistic. And again, it's just this strive for perfectionism that we're not going to attain. Okay, I want to encourage you to accept yourself, to find peace with yourself, and to know that you are worth so much more than how you look. Okay, so I want you to tune into all of that, and I want to help you to overcome the thinking, overcome the self-talk, overcome your triggers, and that is what I want to do today. Okay, today I want us to sit down and I want us to explore all of the triggers that are going on for you. And I mean the triggers that are going on for you. Okay, so everyone's triggers in how they feel about themselves are all going to be very slightly different. So there might be certain things that we have in common, like maybe it's looking in the mirror, okay, maybe it's comparisons, maybe it's diet chat, maybe it's standing on the scales. Okay, we'll all have similar things that, okay, generally when this happens, it can trigger negative thoughts about ourselves. But I want us to go deeper than that, because to actually change how we feel about ourselves long term, okay, and to build a positive body image, and just a check in here that body image is, it's not necessarily about what we physically look like. It's how we feel about ourselves. It's how we see ourselves, our perception of ourselves, okay? How we think about ourselves, and then how we behave as a result of that and how that makes us feel. And that's what we're going to be exploring here. So I want to know all of the triggers that influence that for you. And that's going to be more than stomach rolls. It's going to be more than wrinkles on my face. It runs deeper than that. So to change how we feel about ourselves long term, to improve and get a positive and healthy body image, we've got to do all the changes. And just changing ourselves physically is not going to do that. We'll get a short-term win, a little quick win, but the problems will resurface. Okay, we'll find a new flaw. We'll decide we're not happy. It won't be good enough. And that's sometimes where, when that gets to the extreme, we can end up suffering like I did with body dysmorphia, or you can end up with eating disorders or severe mental health issues. You know, that's how far it can go when we have all these things going on for us, because our body image and our self-image are very entangled. So the triggers that make us feel bad about one will be affecting everything. So it's really, really important to understand what all of your triggers are, and not in an overwhelming way, not in a, oh my God, look at all these things that I need to work on. I want you to do it in an empowering way. Okay, in a way that is building your awareness of everything that you might want to work on, whether that is a thinking habit, a behavior habit, something in your environment, setting a boundary. Okay, there's been lots of different things that we all generally need to work on. And I want to encourage you to do that through all of my videos that are coming up. I'm going to help you to do all of those things. Okay, not in one video, in quite a few videos, but we're going to be here every Wednesday to cover that. But today I wanted to just check in with identifying what your actual triggers are. Again, if you feel like you know what your triggers are, I encourage you to keep listening and just check in with whether there's maybe a few more, because just to clarify on what triggers are. So triggers are things that change our emotional state, okay, change how we feel. So that is everything that's coming in externally, and also the things that are going on internally that are influencing how you feel about your body and how you feel about yourself. Now, what I want you to do now is you can pause me, you can just do it anytime, but I want you to have a little brainstorm. Okay, I want you to just start to get aware of what yours are. So maybe you have quite a few to mind now, and I'd love to know in the comments what automatic trigger comes to mind when I say, what is your biggest trigger? I would absolutely love to know the number one thing that pops into your head straight away, because I think it's really interesting what comes up, and we might find that actually the same thing pops up for quite a lot of us. And I'd absolutely love that. So make sure you drop that in the comments below, and I can make sure then that I cover how to manage that trigger moving forward. But I have got another video on managing triggers, which you can check out if you are at the stage where you know your triggers and you want to work on how to actually change them. But for now, let's get back to just identifying them first off. So again, as I said, there's our internal triggers. So these are things like our moods, okay, our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs, our self-talk, and perhaps our experiences, our past memories of things that have happened, okay, and how they've influenced how we feel. Maybe we were called things at school. Maybe we went through quite traumatic events and that changed how we felt about ourselves. Because look, we're not born disliking our bodies. We're not born with this idea of what we're supposed to look like. We're taught that, okay, slowly but surely. We get told things, we hear things, we learn things, and we end up with this perception of what we think we should look like in order to be the best version of us. But the best version of us is a version of ourselves that likes ourselves, that feels happy, that can live their life. And I can promise you, from my experience, and tell me if you're different, but trying to attain this look, this weight, this idea of what we need to show up looking like physically is the opposite of that. It makes us miserable. It really affects our mental health. It affects our physical health, and it really impacts our relationships and absolutely everything that's going on. So it's definitely not the way forward. But also there's going to be things like there's not one trigger. So there's no one thing. So we've got to look at the internal and we've got to look at the external. And the external are things like, what the hell is going on around us? So that is the people around us. It could be our actual environment, the people we spend the most time with, the situations we get in, okay, the habits that we're doing on a daily basis, looking in mirrors, maybe certain types of food trigger you to feel bad about yourself, scrolling down social media, maybe you feel good about yourself and then you get yourself on Instagram and you start scrolling down, and by the end of it, right, we all have external things. And what can happen sometimes is we can focus on managing the external things. And that will create change. It absolutely will. It will create change, but it won't necessarily create lasting change of everything we need to change. We've got to kind of come from the angle of working on the internal and the external stuff. And to do that, we've got to know what they are. Okay, and I'm going to go into that in a second of how to actually start doing that. But if we just change the external things, which I think most of us have a habit of doing, let me know if you're any different, but we have a habit of just focusing on the external stuff. And that will give us a quick win. But if we haven't worked on our thoughts, on our attitudes, on our mindset, on the beliefs that we have, then we're only going to get so far. Okay. But on the flip side, look, doing the deep work, working on your beliefs, working on your mindset, working on your thinking is powerful, and it's got to be done. But if that's what you do and you don't work on the external stuff, you're still going to be limited. Now, I know a lot of people who work really, really hard on changing their beliefs. But that's really difficult to maintain if your environment is quite toxic, if you don't have boundaries with other people. If you're scrolling down social media and following everyone who's on a diet, okay, people who are giving you this perception of this ideal body, it doesn't matter how much internal work you've done, you're going to struggle. Okay, so we have to come from this holistic overall approach of addressing both. And I would absolutely love to know, again, in the comments, have you worked on these before? And if so, have you focused on one more than the other? Maybe have you changed your external, but changing the internal has just been really difficult because, look, I did that for years and was treading water for quite a while because I couldn't, and I wasn't sure how to do the deep work on my mindset, okay? Or maybe you've done the internal work, but you're struggling on the external side and creating an environment, creating boundaries that support you. And I'd love to know what's going on for you at the minute and which ones you're struggling with. But look, I want you to do that brainstorm. I want you to sit down and I want you to have a think. And once you've got this list, maybe it's a small list, maybe you've already done lots of work, or maybe it's a massive list, okay? And you've got this list all full of different triggers, internal and external. I don't want you to look at that piece of paper or that diary, whichever way you choose to do it, and think, look at all these things that I need to change. I can't do that. There's too much. It'll take too long. It's not worth it. I can't do it. I do not want you to do that. I want you to reframe it. And if you've got this big list in front of you that you spent time, you have been digging deep, you've been putting the effort in, okay? I want you to look at that list and I want you to say to yourself, I am so proud. Look how aware I am of everything that is going on for me. And right now, I feel empowered and I feel confident because I'm looking at this piece of paper and I now know what I need to focus on in order to permanently change how I feel about myself. Now that's a completely different way to word it, a completely different thing to say to yourself, but it's the same piece of paper, okay? And a bit of a disclaimer here, look, you're still gonna have negative body image days. We all do. It doesn't matter how far away, how far into my journey, should I say, that I am, I still look in the mirror sometimes and don't like what I see. I still put clothes on sometimes and feel uncomfortable. I still sometimes go into a social environment and just feel a little bit paranoid. Okay, we all do sometimes, and that can be influenced by many things. It can be influenced by our hormones, whether we have maybe put weight on and we're just finding our balance with that, just how we're feeling, okay? Maybe we're tired. Look, we all have days like that. And I want you to know that's normal, because sometimes when we are going through this process and we're trying to work on changing ourselves and we have those days, we think that we've lost all control. We think that it's not working and I can't do this. But look, you will still have days like that. They will not be as frequent. And the difference is that moment, okay, that moment maybe perhaps when you look in the mirror in the morning and you have a negative thought about yourself, it will no longer control your day. What you'll do is you'll go, oh, I can see what's happening here. I'm feeling like this because, so what I'm going to do with myself today is, and you're going to be able to shift that because you are going to be empowered and you're going to be so aware of yourself. You'll know exactly what's going on for you. And you'll have built the tools of how to change it for you, because what you will do, much like your triggers, is very, very different. So what makes you feel good will be different to what makes me feel good. Okay. So I want you to just remember that as you're going through. Okay. Don't have this unrealistic expectation, which sometimes we can get led into believing that we're always going to, 100% body love. That's not going to happen. And well, tell me if you completely disagree. But from my view, that's unrealistic. It's just another angle of perfectionism. And that's what we are moving away from. So just a reminder of that. But if you do, look, to uncover and identify your triggers, you're going to be looking at your thoughts. I want you to look at, okay, the exact thought that you're having to the word, write down what is that thought. And I want you to ask yourself, why am I even having that thought? Where has that come from? Have I been told that by someone? Is that actually somebody else's thought and I'm repeating it? Okay, why am I having that thought? Okay, because that thought isn't just an isolated thing that just pops up and it's come from nowhere. It's come from something. Okay, and I want to try and pinpoint what that is. I want you to start paying attention to the situations that you're in. So what situations are triggering you? Is it certain people? Is it certain places, certain events? What kind of things, socially or just in life, are more likely to influence you feeling negatively towards yourself? Okay, pay a lot of attention to that. And then what we're doing is we're making little tweaks around that are going to help us. Okay, so brainstorm all of that. Literally, don't just write people. Don't just write family or friends. Which family? Which friends? Okay, name and shame them. Get them down. And that's not to say that we're going to ignore these people, because we don't want to a lot of the time. These are people we love. But we'll be developing ways moving forward of how can I manage being around that person that doesn't affect me, that doesn't change my energy, that doesn't change my feelings towards myself, okay? And the last thing you're going to be looking at is your feelings, okay? Because look, our feelings influence how we think influence how we behave, and all of that influences how we feel about ourselves and our body image, okay? And we can go into that whole link and how that looks in a future video if you want to. Let me know, just type link below. And I can go and explain that a little bit more in a future video. But for now, I just want you to really, really pay attention to how you feel. And I don't just mean how you feel in that moment when you feel bad about yourself or how you feel afterwards. I want you to really, really pay attention to how you feel in general. You might want to keep a mood track of this. It's a great idea. There will be patterns in how you're feeling, much like the patterns in your thinking and the patterns of situations and how they're linked to how you feel about yourself. There is patterns to how you feel. So if you quite often feel quite negative, maybe you feel lonely, maybe you feel tired, maybe you're just feeling a little bit down, okay, then that is going to influence how you feel about yourself. Because if you already feel tired, so if we are feeling quite bad in a day, okay, and it's not focused on our bodies, you know, maybe just something's happened at work or in our lives and we're just feeling a bit, we're not that happy, okay. Now what's going to happen is at that moment in time, you're not thinking about how you look, you're not thinking about your body, okay, as an example in this situation. But then what happens is maybe you look in the mirror or you get ready to go out for a night out. You know, you catch a reflection going shopping. Okay, or you decide to go clothes shopping, which is never a good idea when you're already feeling quite negative, by the way. A little tip on clothes shopping there, do not go when you feel bad. But, you know, that happens. And then what happens is we look in the mirror, say, we start to get ready for our night out and we start thinking nothing looks good. I look disgusting, I've put on weight, this is horrible, it's unflattering, everyone's going to look better than me. And we start this tirade of negative self-talk. The thing is, what happens is, if I then said to you, you know, what's triggered you to feel this way about yourself when you're saying that? You would probably turn around to me and say, it was looking in the mirror. It was trying on that dress, it doesn't fit anymore, I've put weight on. That isn't true. That's triggered you afterwards. But the actual trigger was how you already felt, okay? That feeling that you already had, just kind of, if I can speak. And before that was something that maybe happened. Maybe someone did something. Maybe somebody said something, okay? Maybe you just woke up tired, maybe you're not sleeping well. And these things happen. What happens is we move through our day then, and then we get to a point where we focus on our bodies. So it's not always, actually, the triggers aren't always body related. They can be other things. So I want you to keep the diary. I want you to keep track of that, okay? And I would love you to let me know what you feel like your main ones are, because I want to make sure that when I'm doing these videos, when we're doing these topics, that I am talking about the things that are the biggest things that you want to work on right now. So look, today, my invitation to you is start becoming aware of your triggers. All of them, not in an overwhelming way, in an empowering way. Spot the patterns, spot what's going on in your thinking, spot what's going on in your environment, spot what's going on and how you're feeling. And then what we're going to do is build off that. We're not going to change it all at once because that would be overwhelming, but we're then going to pick out things and we're going to slowly make changes. Okay, so there won't be one massive dramatic change that you make. There won't be that one change that you can make which changes everything, which we think that diets can do. This magic diet will go on, will change everything. And it's not true. Statistics and research tell us it's not true. And what I want us to do, which might be a little bit harder, although diets are quite hard, it might be a little bit harder, it might be a little bit more painful emotionally, and it will definitely take longer. But it will last, it will be meaningful, and it will quite honestly change your life. Okay, it's changed mine, it's changed the lives of the women that I work with. And I want to share that with you. Okay, so if you want to come along on the ride with me for that, then do subscribe. And again, I'm here every single Wednesday. And if you do feel like, you know, you go away, you do the brainstorm, you become aware of your triggers, or maybe you already know them, and then you come back and you're like, that's great, Natalie, what now? Then you can check out this video about how to manage your triggers, which just goes into steps that you start to do to actually start to manage the triggers that you have. Okay, and if you have any specific triggers after doing this exercise that you don't know where to start with, even after watching that, I would love you to drop them in the comments and I will make sure I cover them in future videos. So for now, I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Okay, keep an eye out for those triggers and I will see you next Wednesday. Mwah.